everyone, Donnell with donnellsstichery here, and so today we are going to be working on our next sampler block for our 2024 donnellsstichery sampler quilt. And I will be using my Jack Skellington Nightmare Before Christmas fabrics. And then this is the block that we're going to be doing, which is the card trick. So I'm using two of the cards where you see the purples as my purple fabric, which is this one right here. And then where you see the grays, I will be using this fabric. And then we have the background fabric, which is, for me, is just a solid black. So, and I will give you the measurements as we go. First of all, we're going to start off with our A fabric, which is going to be this. And these are 2.5-inch squares. And then we got our B fabric, which is this right here. And we're just going to try and sew these together up as a 4-patch. So you just line them up, right sides together, using a 1/4 inch, and sew this up as a 4-patch. And I'll be pressing my fabrics to the grays, to the gray fabric. That way there my seams will nest or lock in together like your knuckles would, like if you try and put your fists like this right here, how your knuckles lock in together into the grooves. That's what we call nesting in the quilting world. So pressing towards my grays, and as you see, I'm just doing a quick little, just using my fingers. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pieces here. Since I got my seams pressed towards the gray fabric, I'm just going to put these together. And as you can see here, the fabrics will nest up against each other, which locks them in, and you can actually feel it if you run your finger across it, like this right here. You can feel it whenever it actually locks in. And since these are 2.5-inch squares, then that'll make our next piece a 2.5 by 4.5 inch. But they're going to go together a little bit differently, which is where the card trick starts taking place some. So let me plug in my iron, because now I want to start using my iron with the steam. Because now I'm just going to try and press mine going up towards the top. I'm going to give it a good steam press real quick to get this laid nice and flat for me. Just as soon as my iron heats up a little. And in the description box below, while you guys are waiting for my iron to heat up, let me know in the description box what other blocks you would like to see. So that way there, I know what blocks that you think will look good with my sampler quilts. And also check out all my other videos on this. I've gotten about 5 or 6 videos now on this series. All right, so now we have this here. So, going with this section here, we are going to do take our C fabric, which is the gray fabric that we're going to have now, which is 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch, which should measure just pretty much perfectly. Which it looks like my cutting is off by a little bit, but that's okay. So we're going to put this one up here and this one down here. So that way there our little characters' faces are not right up on each other. We're going to do this on the top and the bottom because we want the fabric here. Sorry guys. So you want the fabric that's here to be this piece. The fabric that's here to be down here. So we're going to do this up. So these on here. And I'm going to flip it upside down so that way there I got my straight non-seam piece on the bottom. And press that. I'm going to press that towards my 4.5 inch long piece. And I'll bring that back over here. And then we'll try and bring this up here and sew that down. One thing I'm really loving about doing the sampler quilt is the fact that it's given me the opportunity to do a lot of different new blocks that I've never done before. Like the pineapple block that I done up, that one I had never done before. So our next pieces, so this is what we have so far. Oops, let me bring that over here where you can see it. So this is what we have so far. So in order to get our next piece, next fabric on here, which is the D fabric, to get that on here, we need to sew this on here. But then we have empty missing pieces here. So that means that we need to start sewing on some additional blocks. So that way there, our rows will go in together just perfectly. So we are going to do a background square, 2.5 inch square, onto each one of these, onto both ends of these 4.5. So on each one of our 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch rectangle, we're going to add a 2.5 by 2.5 inch background square. So we'll go ahead and get this sewn on and pressed. Try to make sure everything stays nice and lined up as much as possible. Now, if you are doing a bunch of these all at once, what you could do is do the, take 2.5 inch strips of each one, 2.5 inch strips of the black fabric or your background fabric, and sew it to a 4.5 inch strip of your other fabric, or in my case, the purple fabric. And that way there, you would just wind up cutting it into the strips that you'll need to be able to sew it on. Or you could chain piece a bunch of these, like how I'm kind of doing right now. Except for I'm breaking the chain after each one, or each additional one, as you see me doing right now. And chain piecing or web piecing is this where you don't cut the thread right away. So that way there, it's like less wasting or less tails of the thread, less thread you're wasting and having to throw away constantly. And yeah, to me, I don't really worry about the thread that much because I bite in the very large spools. So this strip here, this strip right here should measure roughly, let's see. Let me get my actual ruler over here instead of trying to use that right there. So that strip, 4.5 inch strip with the 2.5 inch squares should measure 8.25 inches. So what we're going to do is we are going to sew this onto here. And actually, in order to get the seams to nest, we need to sew or press these seams going inward. So let me fix that real quick. That way there, those seams would nest because I forgot the gray ones I did towards this outside because of the seams. So on your shorter sides here, we got the gray on the top and the bottom. So now we want to put the purple over on these sides. That way there we got purple to purple, gray to gray. And you'll be able to nest those seams. All right, so let me trim this off here. This one pressed wrong, and I'm going to press this going towards the outside piece that I just sewn on. And mine's going to come out a little wonky because I kind of sewed one of them a little on the crooked side, but that's okay because all in all, it'll still work. We'll just call this one the wonky square. My seam was a little off on this one. Move my tails out of the way. Keep everything nice lined up. You could pin it, you could clip it, whatever you choose to do. I just don't usually on smaller blocks, smaller pieces. My My version is just to wing it. If I would have chosen to pin or clip, my seams may have lined up better, but they didn't, and that's okay with me. So this is what we have so far. Super cute block. So now we need to add on the next piece, which would be these squares, these big triangles out here. And what we're going to do is, first I'm going to try and measure my block here to see how big it is. So my block is roughly about 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So from one end, it's slightly off, which it's okay. Because if you give it just a little bit of a tug on one end, that'll help put it back into shape a little bit. So I already have my fabric F square cut out to 8 1/2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this crease out of it. The next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, because I got 2 of them here, so I need 4 triangles. So, and my measure is 8 1/2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I don't need it to be 100% completely accurate on this because I'm just estimating, and I'm going to be trimming down on this anyway. So I take the 8 1/2 inch square, I cut it in half to give me 4 triangles. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually press these in half at one end. Which means what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my triangles, fold them in half, and take my iron, or I can even take my finger, make a crease, so that way there, let's see if you can see it on there. Can you see that little folded crease right there? See if you can see it better up here. So, yeah, that little bit of that crease right here. And that's just to help line it up equally in the center. Another thing that you can also do, which is one trick I love doing, actually, is making sure that my point of the triangle right here lands on within the seam here, because then I know I'm in the center. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this upside down. And I am going to sew this on. And I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. I'm not worried about the overage on it or anything like that, because I'm going to be squaring this up and trimming this quite a bit. So in just a moment. So there is going to be some waste on this method. However, it's the most simplest, easiest way that my brain would work to do this pattern. And for now, I'm just going to finger press this back towards the triangles. And you could actually use a lot smaller triangle, because you just need it to come towards just enough for over here. So you could probably use like, maybe an 7 3/4 to 8 inch square and trimmed or cut in half. But this is what I already had cut, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trim it off anyway. And whatever size is reusable, I'll keep. Whatever's not, will be going into a scrap bag that I'll be sending to a friend of mine. because I have this one friend that loves teeny tiny scraps, and she would be getting all my unusable, in my eyes, unusable scraps or squares or triangles. I think it's the triangles that she prefers. Let's pick up the speed on this. Now that's just funny because I tell it to pick up the speed and Quasar starts talking louder. Yeah, I'm just matching up my pieces here so that way they're getting it, keeping my point of my fabric or my triangle into the center. And that's what we're going to do is we're going to do the little card trick portion. And there's going to be a lot of waste on this because I didn't realize how much I actually tried and did extra on this. But that's okay because first we're going to press this all so it's all nice and flat. Because we want our blocks to be nice and flat. All right, I am done with the iron. Because all we got left now is to trim it to what we want. So let me move some iron out of the way. So now what we're going to do, well, let me go ahead and do it on one side and then I'll show you. So what I'm trying to do is get this all measured out to be just perfectly 9-inch square. And I want to make sure I give myself that at least 1/4 of an inch seam, if not a little bit over. So what I'm going to do is, let me show you right here. So where we have this square here, the 2.5-inch square that we sewn in, what I want to do is I want to bring all right, this here should work good. So this is a 1 or a 1/2 inch ruler. So what I want to do is I want to try to get this to where that way there I can cut along here. Because we want, for one, I like to make sure I got plenty of room to keep my points. So I like 1/2 inches when it comes to keeping my points. So that way there, it allows me to keep a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch seam allowance for when I sew this block to the next block, but also an extra 1/4 inch, which gives me another 1/2 inch. So that way there, I know for sure when I sew it, even if I swerve just a little bit, I'm not going to lose my points of these fabrics. So to me, that's very important. So what I'll do is I'll try and cut on each side. I would put my ruler right up against the little points right here. And I'll just make sure that the side of my ruler over here where I'm going to be cutting at is going to be 1/2 inch away from these points. So that way there, I don't lose my points in my colored fabric. So let me go ahead and get that taken care of. And we'll use my longer ruler, my green one. Actually, let me see if I can get you guys moved over here to my cutting mat so you can actually watch me. So I'm going to shut this camera down for a second. There we go. Now y'all can actually see my cutting area. So I have my block here at the diagonal. And all I'm doing is taking it to where my points right here are going to be at the 1/2 inch mark. And yes, that is a lot of waste, but it's something I could still use. I mean, this is still, let's see, a little over, right up between 2 to 2¼ inches. So that's fabric I could still use. So I'm actually going to put it right down here in my box where I'm keeping all these fabric sets so the way there I can be able to, whoops, so whether I can be able to do what I need to of being able to still use it. So now my 1/2 inch line is going to go right on the points of those two fabrics, making sure it's all lined up, making sure everything's squared up down here. And one more side. And now we have the donnellsstichery version of the card trick. And this measures to be roughly 9 inches by about 9 inches. I could probably square it up about a little bit more to get it perfect. But yeah, this is going to I think this wound up being a super cute block, and it was a lot of fun to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below of what blocks you would like to see next or within the sampler quilt. Because if I get enough of requests, then I'm going to start getting them scheduled out and figured out and everything and all. Plus, I still need to do these in the Mario fabrics for my other son as well for his Christmas quilt, because I haven't even started that one yet. And if I want to have these both done up in time, I figure we'll do these until like maybe August or September. And so, or until I got enough blocks to make a full quilt for them each, because I'm aiming for a queen size quilt for them each, which is going to be a lot of work and a lot of quilting, but we got this. So let me know in the description box below what blocks you would like to see. And make sure you check out my other videos on this sampler quilt series. Also, I recently became monetized and now I have memberships. For $2.99 a month, you will be able to get a 2-day early access to all of my recorded videos, or essentially any of my recorded videos. You'll have a 2-day early access to it, because normally my videos drop on Wednesdays, but I will be releasing them to my members on Mondays of every week. Additionally, I have a private Facebook group for me and my members to share things that we do, hang out and talk, whatever, on a regular basis, as well as the last Sunday of every month, I'll be doing a Zoom meeting with my members from 12 to 4. So make sure you try and hit that join button. I've also posted in my comment section or my community section of the link to join if you don't see the join button right underneath my screen here. So make sure you hit that join button, like, share, and subscribe. And I hope everybody has a beautiful, wonderful day. And make sure you smile, because you never know when a smile is going to change somebody's day. Bye.